everyone. Thanks so much for being here, 12:30 after all the shots from last night. Very brave. My name's Nadine, and I'm the Programmatic Demand Lead at MoPub. I'm based out of London. For any of you here who are not familiar with MoPub, yes, we've got one. On the publisher side, MoPub offers you a comprehensive monetization platform that combines real-time bidding, ad serving, and ad network mediation. And if you're a programmatic advertiser, you can access our RTB exchange in real time through over 180 DSPs that are connected to us. So today, I wanted to walk you through my predictions for 2019 for mobile UA, but more specifically, the effect that it will have on your UA strategy. So definitely curious to know if these resonate with you. So let's get started. So first up, hyper-casual gaming is here to stay. Let's start off by just defining what hyper-casual is. So hyper-casual games typically are lightweight in nature, easily playable, and often very addictive because of their short gaming session, as well as the fun mechanics. Now, simple games have always been around, so what makes hyper-casual slightly different? And that is the viral nature and the ability to scale very, very quickly. Let's take a quick look at the history. Now, when apps first came about, mobile publishers had one of two options. They could either charge for their app, typically around $1, or give the app away for free, but monetize by showing ads. So as you can see here, that was back in 2008. So a lot of publishers who had offered their app for free decided that they wanted to increase adoption. So what they did is they then decided to have IAP, which is in-app purchase. So you got this come up as a way for publishers to monetize their users. A few years later, a new innovative ad format came out called rewarded video, and this allowed publishers to finally monetize those non-paying users. But all throughout, you had publishers who continued to monetize only via app. And these titles came up sporadically on the charts, but 2017 was really when hyper-casual as a genre went mainstream. 2018 was when we saw these apps really dominate the charts. So what's my prediction for 2019? So whether you see a ton of new publishers throw their hat in the hyper-casual ring, or if you see the number of apps increase, my prediction is that these apps are here to stay. There is demand, and therefore, we'll continue to see these apps in the charts. So all that's great, but what does that mean for you as a UA manager? And here, I mean, as a UA manager of any type of title, any genre, who's looking to grab the attention or the eyeballs of a hyper-casual gamer. Well, first up, your strategy should incorporate rewarded video. So rewarded video is an interactive format. It increases user session time, and so publishers love it. Next up, banners are dead. I mean, every year we hear this, but what we've actually seen on the MoPub exchange is that banners continue to increase and are actually one of publishers' favorite ad formats in the hyper-casual gaming space. And then finally, the types of KPIs that you choose. So for hyper-casual titles, you want to work with KPIs that are more high-level. So clicks, installs are good ideas, versus longer retention period, 14-day kind of KPIs. And this is because of the very nature of hyper-casual apps that are meant to be shorter. So next up, my next prediction, not really a prediction, more of a statement. Whale watching, the UA manager's conundrum. So what's the definition of a whale? In the free-to-play mobile space, a whale basically was a user that spent a lot of money on in-app purchase, right? And as a UA manager, these whales spent so big that it made sense for you to invest heavily on your strategy to attract and retain these users. But as mobile has evolved and the strategies have evolved, so has the definition of a whale. So a lot of publishers are now saying and thinking, is it feasible for us to rely on a small number of users to generate majority of our revenue? Or is there a way for us to focus on those users that spend very little or nothing at all, but monetize them through views, through clicks, through impressions? So the latter are called ad whales. Now, we just talked about the rise of the hyper-casual space, and publishers now have the opportunity to ask users how they want to advance, right? Do you want to make an in-app purchase, or would you rather watch an ad to get to the next stage? And so, as a UA manager, what does this mean for you? Well, first up, really understand who your audience is and who you're targeting. So if your app gets more than 70% of its revenue from IAP, you want to continue to focus on those IAP whales. Whereas if majority of your revenue is coming from monetization, what you want to do is now focus on the ad whales. How do you find these ad whales? Well, the easiest and the first step is to start creating lookalikes. So in this way, you want to look at users who've had the most number of sessions, who watched the most number of ads, who've shared something socially. So these are a few tips for you to create your ad whale. But I think what's really important here is to understand which type of whale you're after and tailor your strategy accordingly. Cool. Next up, in-app header bidding will drive programmatic evolution. So the waterfall has been the default mechanism by which ads are transacted in the mobile world. And publishers, they manage these waterfalls. And in the typical traditional mobile in-app waterfall, ad networks tend to be favored more. So what does that mean? It just means that demand sources that are lower down in the chain, they may be willing to pay the highest CPM, but because of where they are in the chain, they don't actually get called. And this is because of reliance on historical pricing. What that ultimately means is that money is just left on the table. So with a real-time, true unified auction, what that means is that publishers now can make the most money on their ad inventory, and advertisers for the first time can compete equally. But that's not the end of the story. There's going to be a bunch of factors that affect both sides of the ecosystem. So the flatter auction style means that advertisers will, the flatter auction style means that there's going to be more transparency. That's the first thing. There's going to be more simplicity. And then finally, there's going to be more competition in the market. And what we believe is this is actually going to be a good thing because it will basically take out the need to negotiate a side deal that carves out good quality supply from the marketplace. That, as a result, what that means for an advertiser is that you're going to be able to come in and buy the best type of supply. So what that means is you're going to get access to supply. You've already had it. But now you can come in and buy an impression from a user earlier on in their journey. So what does this all mean for you as a UA manager? Well, the market is changing, the way you buy is changing, but we're not already there yet. But as a UA manager, it's important to start checking if anything's changing. Are you getting access to premium inventory? Is there more auction efficiency? I think at the same time, you need to start speaking to your DSPs. Understand how their bidding strategies are going to evolve based on advanced bidding. Next up, exclusive inventory is a thing of the past. So I'm just going to say it, exclusive inventory is dead. I don't believe that this is something that exists today. And why do I say this? So I think over the past couple of years, 3 major trends have converged. First up, publishers realize there's a real monetary benefit if you have more competition, more demand. On the demand side as well, you've got over 24 viable mobile DSPs, over 200 mobile networks, over 200 mobile DSPs. You've got thousands of new apps. At the same time, you've got publishers have also got access to supply just because of the changes in ad tech, right? So a publisher can now go to a supply source, negotiate a deal there, and then you've also got on the demand side, you've got all of these different demand partners, but they're also expanding how their businesses work. So a lot of ad networks, for instance, also have their own exchange, their own SSP. So a lot of different changes in the market, which means that supply that was once called exclusive or only available to some no longer really exists. What does that mean for you as a UA manager? If I'm saying that unique inventory doesn't exist, what happens next? Well, it's a race to the top, right? Every UA manager is now trying to make sure that they get a better place in the waterfall. How do I access inventory at the highest possible level? And how do I now prioritize what I'm buying? So for you as a UA manager, if you are now buying inventory on XYZ app, you're buying it through your DSP, you're likely buying it through your ad network, you might also have direct deals. The question that you need to ask them is, where am I on the waterfall, and how many hops am I away from the seller? Question your SSPs. How are you connected to these supply sources? Question your DSPs on their bidding strategy to ensure that they are actually buying the best impression from the best source at the best price. So basically, my takeaway from this one is ensure that you have the shortest path to supply, cut out any middlemen along the way. And then finally, this last one, I think I'm kind of cheating. Suspicious traffic, always fighting the good fight. So fraudsters are very sophisticated. Every year, they come up with something new. And this is something, as an industry, we've been fighting for years in the past and will probably continue to focus on. So it's this seemingly never-ending threat of invalid traffic, of fraud. It's something, as an industry, we've got to tackle together. But you, as a UA manager, can do a few additional things to make sure that you are buying fraud-free fraud-free good traffic. So first up, how do you do this? So I would say one thing that's really important is transparency. The partners that you're working with, make sure you are able to ask them questions and make sure they give you these answers that you really deserve. Question your supply sources. Don't be supply agnostic, first of all, and question the supply sources. So question your exchanges like MoPub. How are you connected to all of these different supply sources? So at MoPub, we're SDK direct, which means we work directly with the publisher, and there are no intermediaries along the way. Partnerships, really important. As an app marketer, you likely have measurement partners, attribution partners, and these partners offer you with a very robust set of tools that can help you shine a light on any fraud or invalid traffic. And this is something really important that I would say work closely with your attribution partners to make sure you understand what's happening on that side. And then partnerships at a larger scale. So some of you likely want to work with an exchange, with an SSP that also has their partnerships in place that kind of looks at the entire supply chain. So at MoPub, we've partnered with Pixelate and Double Verify to ensure we're catching any IVT. So finally, as I mentioned, ensuring you've got the partnerships in place and then being vigilant. As an industry, we want to make sure that we're always questioning the supply we're buying. As I said, fraud is something that has been around for a while and will likely stay. We just need to get smarter in how we fight it together as an industry. So that's it. Those were my 5 predictions, and hopefully some of the strategies as UA managers are helpful to you. Definitely want to know if you have questions, if you agree or disagree with any of these, or come find me after if we're out of time.
We have plenty of time. Thank you.